Hello viewers, my name is Dr. Kinyua. Welcome to my channel. Today we'll be discussing how we can analyze environment for business opportunities. It is imperative that once we think of an idea and we think that it is a viable idea, we may need to do some analysis of that particular opportunity. The first step in opportunity analysis is to identify the opportunity itself. We need to first and foremost identify that this is an opportunity that we can focus on in investment. And in our previous session, we discussed how we can become more creative and more innovative in our thinking and in identifying business opportunities. An opportunity is the chance to do something new in a way in which it is both different, in a better way, or in the way it is done at the moment. Some common pattern in which opportunity may take place could be in products. And it may be based on existing or new technology. So you may want to come up with a new product based on the new technology that has been invented or that is current in the market. And you may come up with a new product. Alternatively, you may think of new means of production. An entrepreneur may come up with a new means of production to deliver added value to customer. So one may come up with a new production technology that can help in reducing cost of production, that may help to improve the profits of the entrepreneur or to improve the value of the product. We can as well come up with a new service that probably was not being offered before in the market. And if customers feel that the new service is adding more value or it is helping them to accomplish something or to address a need or a problem, definitely they are going to patronize that service or they are going to buy it because it is of value to them. So you may also come up with a new distribution route that can add convenience and less time. Probably it is taking less time maybe to get the product from the manufacturer to the final consumer. Take for instance direct marketing, which reduce the number of middlemen and the consumer is able to buy that particular product. Or even buying a product in the e-commerce platform, whereby you buy a product and the product is dispatched to you wherever you are. So you may also want to think about how we can improve service to existing product. So some products are already existing, but you may come up with a way of improving the services or the service to a particular product. And that can also help us in coming up with a new opportunity. We may want to think about new relationship with the customers. At times, customers may want to experiment new relationship with, for instance, the way they purchase their product. These days, a customer may want to focus into buying the product in a supermarket or in a mall or buying that particular product online. By so doing, the customer is trying to is expressing a particular way of getting that particular product. And an entrepreneur may want to know how can we have a new relationship with the customer. So that can also be another way of coming up with a new, you can come up with a new business or a new opportunity. You may also want to think about new business model. At times, the way business is done, the model of that business can be changed. For instance, you used to have the taxi business, the traditional way of doing taxi business, whereby a driver would take their vehicle to urban area, maybe on streets where customers are likely to frequent, and they would get a customer who may want to request for a ride. But with the new model, for instance, the Uber came up with a totally different model, whereby there is now a convergence of technology. For instance, the Google Market and the Google Maps, and they want to link it with the communication, so that now a consumer is linked with the driver of the vehicle, and even the owner of the vehicle is also updated on what is happening. So that's an example of a new model of doing business. So if an entrepreneur can think of a new way of doing business, that is a new model, one can be in business. Now you may want to do idea feasibility assessment, and the purpose of carrying out feasibility assessment is to evaluate the viability of the business idea. You want to do feasibility assessment to be sure that this business, or this potential business, or this opportunity, whether it is viable or not, because you don't want to invest your money and then you end up losing it because the idea was not well processed. So it will show why, if actually initiated, it should have a reasonable chance of success. We are talking about the business. If that particular business venture, if it is actually initiated, is it likely to have a reasonable chance of success? So that is something that you may want to think about, and we should also address the pertinent question that might be raised in preliminary discussion with the prospective principals. Could be investors or advisors, or could also be suppliers or even buyers. So some preliminary discussion may arise, and an entrepreneur must be in a position to address the issue. Take for instance motor vehicles that are powered by hydrogen or even by electricity. So customers will air their views, or stakeholders may want to inquire about certain things. For instance, the battery. How long does it take? How long does it last? So you have to ensure that you are able to address pertinent questions that stakeholders, key stakeholders may inquire about, so that you satisfy them. Until they are satisfied, they may not patronize or buy that particular product. Now, we may also want to look at the feasibility dimension. How do we do feasibility? And we have various dimensions that an entrepreneur may want to focus on when doing feasibility analysis. One is technical feasibility. If a product is a technical product, then it ought to be effective, it ought to be efficient, it ought to solve the problem that it is intended to solve. So you may want to look at that product's technical feasibility. You may also want to look at market feasibility. You may want to do a market feasibility whereby you want to look at the potential market to try and establish, is there a market for this particular product? Would customers buy this particular product, or would they patronize this service if it is going to be offered in the market? Another area of attention, or another dimension, is economic feasibility. You may want to look at the product and see, or the service, and see whether it is economical. So economic feasibility may need to be carried out so that we know the viability of the project, whether it is giving us economic value. Is it economical to undertake, or is it too expensive to invest in and to realize return? We can also do competitive feasibility in the market to try and establish the competitors in the market. Who are our competitors? You may want to know the competitors in the market. So, competitor analysis is critical because it will help you to know how you will compete in the market. Where do you lie when it comes to market share in that particular industry, and how are you likely to compete in that particular industry? So that is also it's also imperative to look at the competition in the industry to see the feasibility, whether you would compete favorably in that particular market or not. You can also look at the management team feasibility. Do you have a competent management team to be able to drive the agenda that you have? Probably the management team that you have, if for instance they are not creative enough, they may not realize the viability of the project. So you may want to think of a management team that will help you to bring your opportunity to become a profitable business venture. You may also want to look at the legal or regulatory environment, and even the political feasibility. Because if a product is not legal in your nation, then it means that you cannot invest in that product in that domestic market. So is it a legit product? If it is not, then you cannot invest in that particular opportunity that you have just identified, and you may need to just forget about it, or you may want to take it to other nation where it is legal to do that particular business. You may also want to look at the political feasibility. Would the government or the regime that is in power, is it for that particular area of investment? Are they focused in that area of investment? Are they channeling their resources in that particular area of investment? So what is would you have political support in trying to invest in that area? Because some investment may require a huge amount of resources, and you do want to have government support before you inject your resources into investment in that particular economy. So it is always imperative to think about it. For instance, if you are to go and invest in China in a very big industry, you may want to think about it. You may want to seek political support so that you'll be assured that your project will be successful in the long run. Also, look at financial feasibility. You may want to do your accounts properly. Maybe you may want to forecast and see whether this project is likely to generate enough sales that will give you an inflow or a cash inflow that will help in paying the bills and ensure that operational costs are covered. Because if you are not able to cover operational costs, then it means that you may not break even after doing the business for some time. Break-even analysis may need to be analyzed to see whether you'll be able to break even. At what point are you likely to break even? The other thing that we may want to look at when you're analyzing the opportunity is method of feasibility analysis. Which method can we use to do feasibility, opportunity feasibility analysis. We have two key methods. The first method is the qualitative method or qualitative methods. They may be many, and they are qualitative in nature, meaning that you are not doing any quantification. And you may have to, under this method, you may have to ask some questions. For instance, you may want to ask yourself, who are our customers? Or who are the customers? You want to identify the customers, because until you have customers, until you can see your customers, that business may not be successful. You want to start from the market. You want to know your customers, whether they would buy that particular product. How are they defined as a group? Can you segment the market? If you are to offer that particular product, are you likely to have a market niche? Are you likely to segment the market so that probably even when it comes to pricing, you know that in this segment, we are going to price it in a certain way, and we are going to offer a lower price in another segment, probably where the income, the disposable income of the consumer is less. So you may want to understand the market and see whether it can be grouped or whether it can be segmented. What are their needs? What are the customers' needs? You need to know their needs because at the end of the day, you are trying to address the needs or the problems that the society or the consumers are having, or the community is facing. What do they buy? When they are buying that particular product, what are they looking for? What are they buying? You need to understand what the consumers are buying because that is what you'll be offering to them. And therefore it is imperative you understand what customers are looking for. How do they buy? How do they buy the product? Do they buy in small quantity, for instance, or do they buy in bulk? How do they make a decision? Do they make a decision as a family or as individual? Because decision making, consumer buyer decision making is also very imperative. At times, consumer may make a decision individually. At times, consumer may make a decision as a household. They may have to come together, maybe the spouse, and decide whether they are going to, what the commodity that the product that they are going to buy, and they have to decide maybe the model, the price. They have to consider maybe the prices that they may want to they can afford to buy that particular product. And that may, for instance, when you are buying a motor vehicle as a household, you may need to come together and they have to make a decision as a household. So it is imperative to know how they buy. When do they buy? There are times, for instance, when consumers may buy the product. If they are buying it online, they can buy it anytime. In the case of, for instance, postgraduate studies, you may find that consumer, they may buy the product in the evening. Maybe those who are working during the day, they only have time, maybe in the evening or over the weekend, to patronize or to buy that particular service. When do they buy? What are their attitude toward current offering? Whatever product that is being offered in the market that we may refer to as a substitute, what is their attitude toward that particular offering in the market? Are they satisfied with it, or do they would they want to look for something that you are offering, that you are introducing in the market? So method of collecting data may, in qualitative feasibility analysis, may involve, for instance, actively listening to customers. You may want to go to where the customers are buying, maybe in the mall, in a supermarket or in a mall, and you may want to listen to them as they are buying the commodity. As they communicate with each other, you get to hear, you get to have some clue about what they feel or think about a particular product. It could be your product that you have introduced in the market, or you can do in-depth interview with experts in that industry, in that area. So in-depth interview can also help you as an entrepreneur to get information about that particular opportunity or that particular product or service that you are offering or that you intend to offer in the market. Focus group discussions is another way of collecting data, whereby you bring people together and they discuss, and you get to hear, to get the information that they are offering. Product trial. You can do product trial so that you know whether the product is working the way it is intended. So product trials are also done, and at times they introduced in the market, and trials are done so that consumers can see whether the product is addressing the need that they wanted to solve, or the problem that they wanted to solve. Usage and awareness studies. You can also undertake usage and awareness studies so that you get to make or come to a conclusion about the investment, in that area. Are you going to eventually invest in that area? Environmental scanning. Yes, you may want to scan the environment. You want to scan the environment so that you get to understand how that product, whether that product may be ideal for a particular market or not. And after doing environmental scanning, you may realize that the product is ideal for the market, or it may not do well in that particular market. The second method is a quantitative method. And this relates to establishing the value of opportunity and effort in exploiting that particular opportunity. So there are questions of how much. You'll be asking questions. How much? How many? Because you want to get you want to quantify. In this case, you want to quantify, you want to know, would this business give us enough sales? Would this business give us enough return? So you are asking quantitative questions to try and establish whether the product would sell maybe enough quantity to help you break even in the long run. So you may want to, it is normally used to support the qualitative data approach that we have just looked at, and it will help to establish the investment, how the investment would be. It will help to establish the investment required and the worthiness of the opportunity. So it is imperative that we do these two methods. And if we do this method, if we undertake these two methods, they will help us in trying to establish whether we should go further into an investment. So methods include user audits to establish how much they may buy. The quantitative method, that is, it may include user audit. You may want to audit the users to establish how much they buy. You may want to look at the size of the size of the market. How much are they buying? You may want to look at the distributor's audit, or do a distributor audit to determine frequency of buying and general movement of the product. So distributor audit can help us, for instance, in establishing how many units are bought maybe in a day. How many products are consumed by an average household. So this will give us quantitative figures that will help us in making decisions. So manufacturers' output records can also be used to compute, to get some data that can help the entrepreneur to know whether the project should be escalated or not. After we have done opportunity analysis and we have established that it is a viable business, then we may also want to do risk analysis. You would want to analyze the risk for the purpose of managing risk, because every business has some risk. So risk and uncertainty are common business decisions. You will need to identify risk, because even though entrepreneurs take risk, they do take calculated risk. They need to compute their risk to know whether they can afford to go ahead and how they can manage that risk. So risks are events for which probability of occurrence are determinable and can be estimated. So we have to compute or determine the probability of occurrence. We have the types of risk, and the first type of risk is background risk. And this is the ever-present possibility of collapse of business. So any existing business, and especially nascent business, infant businesses, in the first few years, the risk of collapse is very high. It's almost 70%. That is according to research that have been done. And every business that exists has background risk because there is ever-present possibility of collapse of that business. Anything can happen in the external environment, and it can bring risk that can cause that business to be terminated but the work of the management is to try and manage the risk or mitigate it if it is not possible to eliminate it. Business risk includes production and market risk in business. So there is also business risk that is also in the operation of business. We have entrepreneurs who have different risk attitude, and one of the risk attitude is risk seeking. Some entrepreneurs are risk seekers, and this is pursuit of opportunities that maximize expected value of investment. So we have some entrepreneurs who would pursue opportunity that would maximize their return, but they are also risky. They are also likely to be more risky. You also have risk-averse entrepreneurs who would prefer to have lower return to a variable one with the higher expected value. So these two type of entrepreneurs, they would manage their risk differently. Now, what are some of the strategies that we can employ in minimizing risk? One of the strategy is risk spreading. We will have to spread the risk if for us to minimize it or to bring it down. And risk spreading may involve diversification. You may want to diversify into several different products, for instance, so that in case one product does not succeed, you have other products that can cushion you against that particular risk of maybe a product failing or dying in the market. Also, being flexible. It is always important that we allow flexibility, especially when we are planning, because for instance, strategic plans are not cast on stone. It means that if anything happens in the external environment, if there are changes in the external environment, even if you had come up with a very good plan, we may need to make some amendment. We may need to do some changes. So it's also important. You may want to have the risk of maybe incurring loss being addressed by sharing loss through insurance. The other way is risk avoidance. This is a process of reducing frequency of losses and controlling magnitude of those losses that may occur. So risk avoidance, you are trying to reduce frequency of losses, or you are trying to control the magnitude of the loss. And we can do that by choosing predictable activities over speculative ones. So some activities are more predictable, others are likely to be more speculative. For instance, an entrepreneur who invests, for instance, in international foreign exchange is likely to face some high risk, because investment in that area, or even stock market, international stock market, the risk is relatively high because it's more of speculative in nature. And a consumer, an entrepreneur may want to know, how can I manage this risk? It means that they may have to first and foremost understand the operation of those markets before they even invest in them. They have to become an expert in those areas. Alternatively, one may choose predictable businesses that are less risky in nature. We can also adapt operations that allow minimizing losses. Some operation can allow minimization of losses, and we can do that. For instance, we have hedging, whereby you may want, if the price keep on fluctuating, for instance, the price of crude oil is always fluctuating, you may want to do, for instance, hedging if you're in that business, so that, for instance, you are sure that you will always be buying fuel at a certain price, but you have to do it in a managed. You have to manage it. You may also want to invest in safe products. Ensure that you invest in safe product. Because if you end up coming up with a product and the end user or the consumer complains that the product was not safe, maybe it had a negative health effect on their health, on their body, then the risk in that business is high, because you may be made to compensate such customers. Compensation can be another way of managing risk, and if risk cannot be shared or avoided, then it should be compensated by higher expected returns. It means that some businesses are likely to be more risky, but the returns are also likely to be very high. And that may be an entrepreneur may proceed to invest in that area because they know that the return are likely to be high in the end. So, ladies and gentlemen, when you're analyzing feasibility of business opportunity, you need to ensure that we bring all factors. We need to scan the environment. We need to understand business opportunity that are viable, and we need to manage risk. We need to be able to manage risk, and this will help in increasing the probability of success of our business venture. If we do that, we are likely to become more successful entrepreneurs. So I would want to hit the like button down there, so that when you're having another video, you'll be able to know. Also subscribe, so that whenever you have another video, you'll be able to see it quickly. So thank you, and God bless.